Hi, I thought I would start a series of videos where I could share some spoken word and some poetry. Over the last few years, I have grown in confidence and have performed publicly um, collections of words that could loosely be called poems, and I've also shared some monologues. Um, and while we deal with this new normal and while we keep our physical distance, and while all the pubs and clubs are closed down, there's nowhere for me and other creative people to get together and share our thoughts and our ideas. And strangely, that's something that I've really missed, and I've missed the opportunity um, of just sharing what's going on inside my mind with other people and having that kind of person-to-person interaction and a reaction. So what I thought I would do while we're dealing with this pandemic, and while we might be feeling a bit low or a bit isolated, I thought I could do some videos and share my words that way. I have to say before I start as well that I know that I'm really lucky that I'm in a safe place, that I'm at a home with access to a garden, and that I live with someone that I care about, and the situation could be far worse. So I know that I'm really lucky in that way, but also it's quite difficult when you open up your laptop and then just see people telling you to use this time as a period of self-development, and people are sharing their accomplishments and the fact that they've learned how to make sourdough, or they've done Tai Chi, or they've learnt Japanese, and I'm sitting in my dressing gown eating hula hoops watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer and thinking that it's an achievement today if I actually have a shower. So I just thought, I know that we all might be dealing with this in different ways, and no way is the right way and no way is the wrong way, long as we can sort of get through this and we can keep to all the rules that are in place to try and flatten the curve of this pandemic. So I think I've always been someone who's been creative, but I've been privately creative, so I never expected to share anything that I wrote or that I painted or drew with anyone else. But over the last few years, maybe because I'm getting older, I decided that I would take the plunge and share things, and mostly they've been quite well received, so I thought I would continue. It all started with this little A4 book, and when I was a teenager, so sort of in the late 1980s, I started writing down how I was feeling in the form of poems. And I think the best way to explain it is the first page of this book that I never thought anyone would ever read says, suitably called Introduction, "Welcome to my book of rhymes, and welcome to my mind, full of thoughts for the future and all that's gone behind. It's not a work of genius, it was never intended to be, just simply something I enjoy, the words set my thoughts free. When you're ready, turn the page, my ideas are encased in black ink. All the poems act like a diary, now my thoughts you can think." And that's how I've carried on, really, writing things down to help me understand them and to sort of record them for me, so that I can look back on them and just think about my life. The thing that I wanted to read today is something that I feel safe with, because this is the first video and it feels a bit strange. It's also really strange seeing your own face reflected back while you're talking. But it's something called Being Kind, and I wrote it originally for the first birthday party of an amazing group of people who ran Cultural Squatters in Newcastle under Lyme, and their kind of motto, their hashtag was #BeKind. So for their first birthday party I wrote this monologue. One of the things you'll need to know, because I imagine I'm a lot older than I think I am, so it references this wonderful person, Floella Benjamin, and I'll explain in the monologue who that is, but just that, remember that beautiful face as I'm talking. Okay, so Kindness, the quality of being friendly, generous and considerate. Being kind is an important way of bringing meaning to our own lives. It also brings joy to the lives of those around us. That is all I ever wanted out of life, to be treated with kindness, to be allowed to grow and be the best version of me that I could be. One of my earliest memories is of sitting in the back garden while my mum was putting out the washing. I was sitting on the floor with the tub that my mum used to store the clothes pegs. They were the wooden version with the spring, and I was attaching them to my hair, from the crown of my head right down to my fringe. My mum returned from inside the house with another basket of freshly washed clothes. She looked at me and she asked what I was doing. I am Floella Benjamin, I announced. Now, if you're not aware of who Floella is, she was a presenter on the BBC children's television programme Play School in the 1970s. And at the time of my memory, she was my favourite presenter on Play School and had fabulous braided hair with lots of beads. She was warm and friendly with the most amazing smile, and I loved her. The fact that she was a woman, that she was black and in her early 20s did not appear to form any sort of barrier to the male, white, 4-year-old me in my ambition to become her. And that is why I like that memory so much. At age 4, nothing was out of my reach. It was only when other people told me that my likes, my actions and behaviours were wrong, and I saw a society reaffirming this, that I started to try and mould myself into something that I could never be. When a person tries to do this, the heartache begins. When the self you're trying to present to the world becomes separated from the person you are inside, your body becomes a lonely place to inhabit. A large part of this confusion about who I was and who I should be was centred on masculinity and other people's expectations of what a boy is. And as I look back, I'm interested in how my sexuality was inherently linked to my masculinity by the other children I knew, and this happened from a really early age, much earlier than the time when I even began to consider who I was sexually attracted to or what my sexuality was. At first, I remember talking to my mum about the names I was being called. I didn't understand how the simple act of me being me could create such hostility, and I didn't understand the implications of the seemingly derogatory remarks being cast in my direction. One afternoon, as my mum was preparing dinner, and I sat making faces on the worktop with potato peelings and carrot tops, I asked my mum what Gaylord meant. She looked at me and asked why I wanted to know, and I explained that it had been shouted at me by some of the older boys as I was in the playground at school. She paused for a moment and she said, well, gay means happy and a lord is a very important person. And then she continued to dice the vegetables. But I wasn't that easily placated, so I asked why would boys shout those words at me? It made no sense. Why would they be annoyed at me being happy and important? She looked at me and she said, they're jealous. And that was that. And I didn't really ask any more questions. I just accepted that my lack of deemed masculinity increased the probability of me being called gay or queer, puff, shirt lifter, bender, sissy. I didn't want to have the conversation with my mum about what the definition of each of those insults was. And where do children learn that masculinity is linked with sexuality? It's got to be from us as adults. And the weird thing is that the two aren't linked at all. When the 8-year-old me asked if he could have a Cindy doll, there wasn't a causal link to me being gay. I hadn't even given any thought to my sexuality. I was a child, I wanted a toy, and it was as simple as that. Now cast your minds back, if you can, and if you're old enough, to the 1970s. There was a battle between the two key figures in the fashion doll arena, Cindy and Barbie. Now I was on Team Cindy. She was homely, friendly looking, and someone I would want in my circle of friends. She looked like she would have your back when times were tough. Barbie was too brash, She was too full of confidence and she had her own jet plane, and so I didn't trust Barbie. Now, unfortunately for me, our family didn't have much spare money for gifts, and my Cindy doll was actually bought at a local market, Tunstall Market to be exact. In fact, she was less Cindy and more Cindy-esque, made in Hong Kong, what I now know to be referred to as a Cindy clone, a knockoff. Now, my Cindy suffered with alopecia, and I had to be really careful about what hairstyles I put her into so that I didn't reveal any of her bald spots. She also had really odd hips and knees that didn't bend, and meant sitting down caused her legs to sort of stick straight out at a 10 to 2 position, and I really struggled to get her to sit in a ladylike manner on the patio chair I'd bought for her. But in spite of these irregularities, I loved my Cindy doll. I loved her so much that it inspired my younger brother, 2.5 years my junior, to want a doll too. And I remember going to the shop on the corner of the street next to ours and buying his doll with him. Also a Cindy clone, but with a bubble cut blonde hairstyle, who came wearing only a knickers and bra, and this made me suspicious of this new Cindy doll straight away. My Cindy had arrived in a full outfit that had been added to by my mum, who made her extra dresses and skirts. My brother's Cindy, however, began to wear his Action Man army fatigues, and I felt this didn't bode well for their friendship. So as my Cindy sat having her nails done, my brother's Cindy was parachuting out of our box room window, and more often than not landing on the canopy that's above our front door. Now, I was never quite sure if it was having a doll that was not masculine or how you played with that doll, but either way, I was told by other children that boys do not have dolls. Now, I love these memories. I savour all the aspects of them in my mind and let my heart devour them, leaving me with a feeling of contentment. My appetite to be loved for who I was and all I could be is sated. The delicious aspect of these stories are that my parents never made a judgment about the toys we were having. They never made me feel guilty for wanting to play with dolls or to lip sync to I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor while they formed the audience. They let me be me. They loved me unconditionally. They showered me with a positive appreciation of the child that I was, and they treated me with generosity and they cared. In essence, they were kind. Thank you. So that's my little monologue about kindness. I just want to leave you with a thought as well, that it isn't just about letting other people be kind to you, but be kind to yourself, especially in these strange times that we're living in. Don't give yourself too high an expectation for what the day can hold. Don't be disappointed that you haven't learned yoga or, I don't know, written your first novel. And I want to end on one point as well, that dreams can come true. And I did love my Cindy clone from Tunstall Market, but at the age of about 23 in a charity shop, I bought my own Cindy, which sits in my bedroom now. It was a strange achievement as an adult with my own job and wages that I could go out and buy a Cindy, but she is loved. And wherever my old Cindy clone doll is, rest in peace.